Good evening, this is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the Bigger Picture webinar for the evening of Sunday, the 8th of December. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. Right, we haven't actually seen much of a retracement so far in this move up. The closest thing we really got to it, we had a little one here and a little one here, and we had a little one last week as well. Didn't get far, 30 points or so, but nonetheless, this has been a very, very strong grind up, and that was interesting. We've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed on ES. We have another one fixed on NDX. NQ rather. RTY, no signal, and we're in a pretty nice looking bull flag channel. And YM, potential double top, which is actually trying to break down. I haven't put in the arrows for it, but the target would be in about the 44,250 area. There, we've got a weak 60-minute buy signal fixed. Looking at DAX, DAX has been on a tear. We've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed, and that didn't quite fail. So if we didn't already have one there, another one would have fixed here. And then if we didn't already have one there, then another one would have fixed here. We've been having a succession of higher highs on increasing negative divergence. And this is aching for some kind of retracement. Doesn't need to be a large one, but nonetheless. We've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed here. Again, it didn't quite fail as ESTX went higher, and ESTX went higher and actually made the double bottom target, which I'd been talking about since we were here. Well, down here actually, and has made a very, very nice run up into that target. But that target is now made. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Looking at SPX. SPX on the bigger picture, obviously, actually, let's have a look at it on the weekly chart. I'm looking at this trend line here as the obvious target. I've got that up in about the 62,250 area, and I was thinking we might make that in December. I'm now thinking more in terms of January or February. There are quite a few analysts talking about a high in January or February, and I think we could see that. And then, of course, we could see this, which is the last time we hit. Well, obviously, it wasn't a trend line at this point, but although, in fairness, we did actually hit it about 3 times. But last time when we made this point here, we then made a bull flag for a year or so. Some people are talking about a significant high. Some people are talking about a flag. Maybe it will have a good year next year, but I don't think equities are likely to have a good year next year. But it might just be a bull flag. It might be a larger top, but I mean, it's a process that we'd be watching as it went on. But I do have this nice looking trend line here, and I am thinking that may be a target that's hit in the next few weeks, and then we see some kind of high there, maybe large, maybe smaller. But we will see. But something that might well last much of 2025. Looking at the daily chart, daily chart here, not really hard. Far enough away. We're only about 200 handles away from the 200 DMA, so we're not even as much as we were before the last attempt at a 45 DMA retest. So I've not marked it in as a level as an amount yet, because until it gets over 4%, it's not really that interesting. Looking at the daily chart, the new weekly pivot is at 6074, and there's a couple of nice looking setups here, and I wanted to talk about this chart here, where on the 60-minute chart, I've got this lovely, lovely trend line that we just hit here. I'm not thinking this is going to be a major high. I think that SPX is likely to go higher, but I think this might well be a short-term high forming at the moment. We will see. But on the hourly chart, we've also got an RSI 14 sell signal fix, and we got an RSI 5 sell signal fix. We've got a lot of negative divergence here, and I'm expecting to see some kind of retracement next week in all probability. Maybe fill in some of these gaps, but to release some of the pressure from what has been a fairly relentless move up. Looking at the 15-minute chart, we've got I've got as no current divergence. We've actually got an RSI 5, RSI 14 sell signal fixed there, and we've got a nice looking little level top, which you can see on the ES chart. And hang on 1 second. ES, you can see we got a little level top here. It's unambitious, but if we were to see a break below 6075, we could see a move back into the 6040 area. That would be a very modest retracement, and it's kind of overdue. We've got the divergence for it. We will see whether it delivers next week. All right, let's have a look at the NDX chart and the Qs. Qs, No current negative. Well, we got a tiny bit of negative divergence here, but it's not really worth the mention. We are hitting another trend line there. And I am thinking we might see a reversal. We didn't quite hit. I wasn't that happy with the fact that we didn't quite hit this support trend line here. But we've come back and hit the resistance trend line beautifully, and it's a nice trend line. Again, this would be an obvious place to see some retracement. We will see. And on the hourly chart, and we've got an RSI 14 sell signal brewing, and it's a nice one. 15-minute chart, you can see we're heading slightly over this. This might be a bearish overthrow. I'm not convinced we're going to see any meaningful retracement, really meaningful retracement. More than 100 handles on SPX retracement in before Christmas, but which is only really a few days away now. But we will see. We will see how it goes. But a smaller retracement, yeah, I think we could most definitely see that. And I'm wondering if we might well see that next week. Looking at Dyer, we've actually got an RSI 5 sell signal fix. It's the only one that has a sell signal fix, but this looks pretty nice. We got a little level top here. Again, it's very modestly sized, but it's nonetheless a decent pattern for that, and it is trying to break down. If it succeeds in breaking down, that could deliver a modest retracement, which could actually scrub out and resolve quite a lot of the negative divergence here. We will see. All right, let's have a look at the IWM chart. Right, IWM daily charts. We've got an RSI 14 sell signal fix, but it's a really old one. But if we didn't really already have one, we'd have a possible RSI 14 sell signal brewing here. This was the most bearish last week and actually made it almost back to the daily middle band. The hourly chart, no current divergence. But you can see we didn't quite make it to the obvious trend lines here. I've had a careful look at all of the indices, and the obvious trend line for here is a little higher. We haven't quite made it. This looks like a bull flag forming. It may be a bull flag forming. We will see. But I'm quite liking the odds of a little retracement next week. Likely a buy. Not too long after it starts. In terms of the flag here, not a bad looking flag. Not quite as nice as it looks on RTY, but still pretty good. On DAX, this has been on a tear and has reached one of the trend lines I've marked in and gone slightly over it. So wondering about that. We did have some negative divergence, which we lost, but we are looking eye-wateringly overbought on the 90 at the 90 level on the RSI 5. Although that is something actually that's been hit pretty regularly on runs up. You can see that in the past. Some of the time it then develops negative divergence. The majority of the time, actually, it does not. Nikkei. Nikkei is back at the daily upper band, and I would love to see over the next few weeks a run up to retest this high here at 42.4. Don't know if we're going to get that, but this was looking for quite a while like a potential head and shoulders forming, and it's no longer looking like that now. All right, great. Let's have a look at. Hang on 1 second. Right, let's have a look at CL. Okay, CL. CL is not getting really meaningfully back over 70. And I think the reason for that is that we've got an open target below at 63, a retest of 63.57, and I don't think it's getting that far away from that. NG, we did have a beautiful bull flag here, but it then broke down. This looks like a bear flag forming at the moment. Seasonally, this has switched. And we're actually in a seasonal decline, and actually in the rolls at the beginning of the month, we're actually going to drop 40 cents just on the rolls between now and April. That'll get us down to, well, only 2.70. On the bigger picture chart, I'll show you. I have a very nice looking setup that we might be forming in IHS. So let's have a look at that in a moment. Let's have a look at oil first. Oil just kicking around. The triangle is this one here. It broke down a while ago, and we haven't made the target yet, which is a retest of 63.57. I'm not seeing any particular reason to think it isn't going to make that target. Resistance above is that the 50 DMA, just over 70. We will see how it goes. In terms of bigger picture resistance, I've been watching the 200-month moving average, which is at 72.52 at the moment, and again, that's been holding as resistance. So I'm liking that. On natural gas, not much to see on the nat gas chart, but I don't tend to use that on the future as for the longer term charts because the rolls really distort the picture very badly. But this is the picture on the index, and you can see that we've come up and touched pretty much picture perfect. We've touched a potential neckline here, and we have pulled back. If we are forming a right shoulder, it would be quite reasonable for that to take 3 or 4 months, form maybe even 5 or 6, and then break up. And if we could, ideally the right shoulder low would be in the 1.95 area, and then a subsequent break up over 3.64 would have a target in about the 5.75 area. That would be a very nice looking pattern, and I think that may well be coming our way next year. And I do know that obviously, Trump's planning to increase oil production, natural gas production, but the reality is he was doing that in the last term. And the market, the US is operating in a world market, and obviously prices are mainly set by that. It's not really about domestic production. So in terms of the bigger picture, has natural gas got room to the upside? Hell yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at this. By historical standards, I was actually talking to somebody about this yesterday when I called this move here back in 2020. And I was talking about, I think we were here, and I think I've got a bit of video where I'm talking about a decline to 1.5, set up a little double bottom, and then start a move that potentially could get us back up into the 8 area, this double bottom. And actually got to 10.03. And historically, that was a substantial move, but not huge. You can see on the monthly chart that's not a monster move. This one would be a smaller move. This would only get us up into about the 5.75 area, which would be a 50% retracement of this decline. It's a very, very natural target area. It's a very nice pattern, and I think it's got a pretty good chance of making it. Last time, I was a bit caught by surprise because I'd just been watching the charts, really. But then in the UK, energy companies started going bust as we went up to these levels, which astonished me because I didn't remember that many going bust when we were doing all this action around here. But, it's times change. People get used to low prices, and then they go up, and then it's outside their sphere of current experience. But I'm really liking this pattern. I think we may well form that IHS, and then I think that 5.75, that's almost exactly at the 50% fib. That's a very, very natural target to go for. I really like this setup. All right, great. Let's have a look at GC. Now, GC, the question is, what's happening with the dollar? And on the basis of that, is it likely that that metals have put in a low here? Now, at the moment, it's possible the metals put in a low, but I'm not actually seeing a lot of sign that they have, and there's plenty of scope for them to go lower. This really actually just looks like a triangle which is breaking down with a target to retest this low here at 26.30, but it could easily go lower than that. We do have a sign of a much more encouraging pattern on silver. We've got this lovely double bottom here which is trying to break up, but to be honest, it's like the head and shoulders, as I said. It breaks up and it either heads to this target or it rejects back into the low. If it rejects back into the low, then that negates the bullish setup entirely. So could it do that? Yeah, it could. And HG, this is currently a perfect bear flag channel. Now, sometimes these break up about 30% of the time. Bear flag. So these break up about 30% of the time. And when they do, sometimes in effect, they're acting as what we're missing on this chart, which is a bottoming pattern. But if it goes down and goes to the natural target, which is a retest of this low, then probably the other metals are going to be going with it. We will see how that goes. All right, let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts too. Okay. GC. GC, we've got no current divergence, but in terms of how far could we get, we have broken the rising support trend line. It wasn't a great rising support trend line, but it wasn't bad. We had 3 nice touches on it, 1, 2, 3. And is there an obvious topping pattern here? Not really, I would have to say. But there is definitely scope to go lower. This could be A, B, C. Afterwards, I'm very bullish on this longer term, but I am wondering if this might go down in the short term. Looking at the index chart, it looks pretty similar. I've drawn in this trend line here but this is a trend line if this holds. Otherwise, my main trend line's down here. So if we did an A, B, C down to that trend line, we might be hitting that in about the 2410 area. I'm wondering if it might do that. We haven't got any positive divergence at the moment. All right, looking at silver. Silver, nice little lower bottom here, although I would say it looks less nice on the silver index chart. Not bad though. Could this be a head and shoulder for me? I was mulling that over at the weekend, and I think it looks oversized to me. So I think it probably isn't a head and shoulders, but nonetheless, could we fail down into the fail here at the 50 DMA and fail down into the next level of support in the 2650 area? Yeah, we could. Very much so. And I'm wondering if it might do that. Palladium. Palladium would be improved by retest the low here at 926. Set up a nice looking double bottom. Platinum, we've already got a nice looking double bottom, but it's not currently showing any sign of breaking up. No divergence on either. Looking at copper. Copper, we didn't get any positive divergence here because this high with this low was higher than the previous low. Now, I'm quite liking a low forming here, but I am wondering if it might go a bit lower. And at the moment, I'm not seeing any obvious bottoming pattern here, and we do have a pretty obvious flag. Bigger picture. Not really anywhere obvious at the moment. What I would note is that we're solidly below currently both 50 DMA and the 200 DMA, both of which are in about the 4.3 area. So while that remains the case, yeah, both of them at 4.32. While that remains the case, there's definitely scope for more downside. If we went down and retested this low here at 3.91, would that be the second low of a double bottom? No, it wouldn't. It's too big. But nonetheless, it's a big support level. This whole area is a pretty big support level. I'm thinking we may well see a bounce here, but I'd quite like to see a retest of this because by retesting that, we could set up this smaller double bottom, which could give us a nice path to get off the bottom. All right, GDX, not really seeing anything in the way of divergence here. Again, we could do another leg down. GDXJ, the same. I've drawn in a trend line here, but that's in case this holds. I'm playing around with patterns and potential upside targets. There's no particular reason this would hold. The original trend line is already broken. All right, great. Let's have a look at the ZB chart. Okay, ZB, we've broken up from a modest little level bottom here, and I just rolled this into March, of course. We've broken up from a little level bottom here, and I've got the target up in about the 121.24 to 26 area. And I'm quite liking that target to be made. It's not been a fast mover off the low here. Really, we were hanging around so long here. I was wondering if it was going to break up at all. It has broken up. It's crawling towards the target, and at the moment, I'm not seeing anything to suggest it isn't going to make it. Looking at DX, DX, we had a nice looking rising megaphone here, and it broke down. But what I would say is we've got a perfect bull flag here. It's really, really nice. Very, very nice. And that being the case with the bull flag, most of the time that will break up into a retest of the high. So I'm thinking we may well be delivering a retest of the high. We have options once we go there, and let's have a look at those at the moment. Okay, let's have a look at the at DX first. We've got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed just to survive that last high. And we've got a really nice looking bull flag setting up a retest of this high. Now, it looks a little different on the index chart, but not an awful lot different. The suggestion here is we may be forming a high here, and we retest that high, set up a double top, and then we come back. Well, that itself could just be a 50% retracement. There's nothing really saying that dollar's turned around here. And on the bigger picture, one thing I'm wondering is, I think the dollar's going to have a very interesting couple of years, and I think mainly that's going to be about going down. But in the short term, the question is, what is it doing right now? It's broken back over the monthly middle band. It's back at the monthly upper band. And I'm wondering if we might go back and retest the high at 114.75. And that would set up a really nice looking double top. And that would set up the next move, which would likely be down. So I'm leaning towards seeing that. I think we may well see down years on both the dollar and on equities next year. Actually, I'm not convinced bond's going to do that well either. I'll be talking more about that in videos closer to Christmas. But I've already written a post, which if you've missed it, you should see. Have a look on my bigger picture Substack, but there's a very good post I wrote, which was mainly about prospects for bonds next year, and that is well worth a read if you haven't read it already. All right, just looking at the other currencies. Keeping an open mind, the euro, this could easily head back up, but in the short term, I'm wondering about a retest this low. There's not really much of a case looking at this chart for this to go much lower, but it could. We start losing the 1030 to 1035 area badly, then the next obvious target would then be a retest of this low here, which would be a match of the retest of the high on DX. GBP USD has been suffering, but again, I've got quite a nice looking support trend line here. We could well find support here. USD JPY, this has been doing its own thing, it's running its own politics and so on. I've got a double bottom here, which is broken up. At the moment, that's not showing much sign of making target, but if the dollar goes back and retests the high, maybe it would. We did almost reach the minimum target for it, and it may be that was enough. USD CAD, very nice looking potential double top here, which is showing no sign of breaking down at the moment. We've got an RSI 14 sell signal brewing on the daily, which hasn't fixed yet. Australian dollar. I've got a possible triangle forming here, and we've just hit triangle support. And I'm thinking we may well be making a short-term low here. On the bigger picture, this may be heading towards a retest of this low here at 61.7. Doesn't have to, but it's a nice looking trend line at the moment, and at the moment that is holding. NZUSD went through the obvious trend line there. Again, I'm wondering about a possible retest of the larger low, but we'd only really see those in the event that dollar went and retested the main high. But I am thinking it might do that. Looking at TNX, on the hourly chart, we had an RSI 5 buy signal fix. I should have taken that off. But we do have a nice looking double top, which is broken down and is crawling towards the target. And this is the mirror image of the one on ZB, of course. In terms of divergence on the daily chart, we had, at the beginning of the process, when I started talking about the double top on TNX and the double bottom on ZB, we had a nice looking RSI 14 and RSI 5 sell signal fix. The RSI 5 sell signal has already made target, of course, and we've now got a possible RSI 5 buy signal brewing. The RSI 14 sell signal, and these do tend to make targets, and I think we had this one here didn't quite make it to the possible near miss target, but this one did, and this one made the full target. This one pretty much made the full target. This one made the full target. Really, my lean is this is going to reach at least the possible near miss target in the 35 area on the RSI 14. That suggests this is going to go down a bit more, and that's suggesting to me that this double top here is probably going to make the minimum target here in the 40.5 area. So I'm expecting to see more downside on bond yields and upside on ZB. After that, I'm leaning strongly towards this being a bull flag. Which is setting up a retest of this high here at 49.97. We've already come a lot of the way back towards that. I'm thinking we're going to do that next year, and then at that point we've got a very big inflection point. And if tariffs are going on really heavily, inflation is going up, then interest rates may well be back in an upcycle. That's not going to be good for equities, and that's not going to be great for bonds either. But the thing is, there's this idea that bonds and equities, one goes up, the other goes down. It's not true. It's true for long periods, and it's true for this chart here. But if you look at the longer chart, the longer term chart, you can see periods where just the opposite happened for years. And you see, there's been quite a lot of correlation in recent years, but look at where the markets were going up and yields were going down. Here you've got basically yields and the market going up, yields and the market going down, and then it reverses. It quite regularly reverses. And we've had a long bull flag forming on TNX here while equities have been skying up. But the thing is, even when yields were going up from this historic low at basically 0.4%, really real negative interest rates by quite a degree, it's even when we were doing this big rise here, it didn't actually knock a great deal off equities. We just saw a bull flag form. So the conventional wisdom is wrong. This can reverse for significant periods, and we will see how it goes. But I think I think next year we might be seeing a bad year for both bonds, and well, a good year for yields while we see a bad year for equities. I think we've gone years with that sort of correlation before, and I think we may well be heading into another period where we see that too. All right, great. Let's have a look at the other commodities. So KC, we've got, hang on a second. Right, KC, coming back into a retest of this high. I am wondering if this might be the second high of a double top forming. We'll see. It's SB, very long bullish consolidation, almost 3 months now, actually. This high that it would be retesting at the end of it, in all probability, is on the verge of dropping off the chart. But this is still likely a bullish consolidation. Cocoa, I'm wondering about a reversal here. I've got a pretty nice looking rising wedge, and on the daily chart, well, I'll talk more about it on the daily chart. Short term, we've got a 60-minute sell signal fix. In terms of CT, this looks like a bull flag forming at the moment. ZW, nice looking double bottom, but I've got some doubts looking at the other grains about that playing out. But corn, actually, we had a bull flag here, and that has now broken up. On soy, that looks like a bear flag, and actually it's a perfect bear flag channel. I'm thinking the obvious target for that. Now, that's with the usual caveat that sometimes these actually turn out to be the bottoming pattern. But if it isn't the bottoming pattern, then we're likely to go back at some point when that breaks down and retest this low at 975. That could well be the second low of a double bottom, but we will see. All right, let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts as well. Hang on. Right. KC, no current divergence, but as soon as we retest this high, we've got a possible RSI 14 sell signal brewing on the daily, and we've got a potential double top setting up. It's been a very nice run. It might be time to see a retracement. We will see. SB looks like a bullish consolidation, exactly like the hourly chart. Okay, CC, we've actually got a weak RSI 14 sell signal fixed and a weak RSI 5 sell signal fixed, and we've got full size of both of those signals brewing. We could see a high here. We've obviously long since made the bull flag target at 89.84, and we've gone up to 10,000. We might see some retracement here, and we've got a lot of negative divergence here. We've got that nice wedge that I was looking at. I think the risk is now looking towards the downside, I think. Looking at wheat, we've got a possible RSI 14 buy signal brewing. So I am wondering about a low here, and it's a lovely looking double bottom. It really is nice. On corn, I'm wondering whether this whole thing is a bear flag, which is a concern about the upside, and I'm not seeing an obvious bottoming pattern. On soy, we may be forming a large double bottom, but to form a nice one, we probably need to go back and down and retest this low here at 973.40. It makes an okay one without it, and it's not a bad bottoming setup, but I would say the bear flag is suggesting that we're going to come back and retest this low at 975.20, and we could go back and down to 973, and at that stage we'd have a nice looking double bottom. But here, I just don't think it looks quite finished. We'll see. On cotton, we've not really broken anything significant to the upside. We're back under the daily middle band. I'm wondering about a retest of this low here at 67.9. We will see whether we get it. All right, great. In that case, right, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to do the bigger picture webinar on Wednesday, but I'm going to be out all Thursday. But I think I can do the bigger picture webinar before I go. But the videos, my normal daily videos on Thursday won't be happening because I'll be out. But I'll try and get the evening charts out. But otherwise, I'll be back on Friday. Otherwise, I'll be in practically every day over the holiday period that the market is trading. So we will see, and I will catch you guys on Wednesday.